Oi, get over here. Yeah, you. It's time for another episode of Dorothy and the Dealer. This week, they're talking about balancing our perceptions. Let's listen in to the conversation.
Welcome to the Unnamed Podcast, episode 4. How exciting.
You know that one?
Is that your intro music?
On the beach. I love that album.
I know you do.
That's such a good album. But is that Gatecrasher Red?
And I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Well, you're not very good with your music,
I'm
then, are
not
you?
then, am I?
You're not an ex-raver like me, mate.
I'm not. How are you today?
Oh, very good.
That's
yes,
good.
I'm well. Thank you for asking. Do you really
good.
want to know? Are you
I do.
serious about that question?
Yeah, I
because
am.
we
I
can
always
jump
am.
straight in there if you like. Talk about some of my faults.
Actually, no, let's
Talk about
not.
some of my black and white bits.
Well, we're kind of going to talk a little bit about that anyway today.
Yeah.
We get often asked about
Yeah.
what we do. Like, if we're out,
You're going
out
to
and about.
me now, aren't you?
No, I'm not at all. Why would you think that? If we're out and about and people are asking, what do you do? And we say, well, we're actually in the area of human development. We run seminars on human development, and people are, what, like a life coach? And that's kind of insulting to us a little bit.
Yeah.
But
well,
also,
I'm actually a precision engineer by trade.
That's
but
Mr.
it's like being
McTool's
called a life coach. No, and not that there's anything wrong with life coaches, but being called a life coach is a bit like being called a blacksmith.
Oh, okay, got
From a
it.
precision engineer to a blacksmith.
Okay. I don't think anybody gets that because I don't know what people...
yeah.
Oh, well, I never knew what a precision
And
engineer was. Anyway.
that's probably giving blacksmiths a hard time.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we all need blacksmiths.
We do. Okay. You're
world
just being
wouldn't-
really
world-
random now.
world
So let's
wouldn't be
get
here
back
without
to it.
blacksmiths.
You're being really
I think
random.
Joseph was a blacksmith, wasn't he? No, he was a carpenter. Sorry. Okay, go on.
Okay. So they ask us whether we're life coaches and whether we're motivational speakers.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I think we just want to shed some light gently
Yes.
on the typical kind of view of people who are in human development, and I suppose the differentiation between
Yeah,
what
and I mean,
we
look,
do.
I'm messing here. Look, at the end of the day, whatever your industry
Many
you're
a
in,
true word is said in jest. Go ahead.
Okay. What I think at the end of the day, whatever the industry you're in is your industry, and your objective is to become an expert in that field.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's a lot of life coaches out there at the moment. I mean, I get into a taxi the other day, and
As a life coach.
Nigerian
Uber.
taxi driver was telling me that he was becoming a life coach, which is
Right.
fine. I mean, that's okay because there's room for that for everybody. But I think that we're at a point in time where people are asking bigger questions and looking for bigger answers. And I think, not to be derogatory, but everyone's a life coach at the moment, and and I think that is a bit problematic because we have to have you have to earn the right, I think, over time to master your field. You have to earn the right over time to master your field, and I think that the problem with people, I've over the years I've worked with some psychologists, some quite renowned psychologists. And what I found is that, like with most psychologists, they're trying, and they'll tell you the same thing. Like a psychologist who's owns their craft will tell you, the first 5 years of my life, I was trying to work out in someone else what I hadn't learned to work out inside of myself.
Which is what everybody does.
Everyone
Everyone teaches what they most need to learn.
What they most need to learn, and that has levels.
Yeah.
And I'm doing exactly the same
Exactly,
thing. So
exactly.
I want people to understand that. But I think that we're you got to be careful about who is coaching you in your life. Does that make sense? I remember we were getting telecalls one day at the house, and Ange, I come home from work one day and Ange goes, I've made an appointment for it. I'm like, really? Yeah, with who? And she said, a financial advisor. I'm like, really, honey? Yeah, a financial advisor, great. So I get on the phone to the financial advisor, and if he's going to advise me on finances, I want to know that he understands finances. Does that make sense? So the first thing I said to him is, how many cars have you got? Where do you live? How much debt do you have? If I look in your bank account right now, how much cash have you got? Where do you have a holiday home? I want to know, where do you tend to invest your money? What do you know about Forex?
It's actually, well, and it's nothing to do with how many cars he drives, because cars might not be his value.
No.
But the point is that is he
Yeah.
is he doing is he an
Is he the right
an
person?
example?
Yeah, is he the right person for me to look up to?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
I watch people become life coaches and then fall in and out of that industry all the time.
So
I
I
have
think-
you've people come to you all the time. I have people come to me go,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'd love to do what you do. And I think, really? You really want to do what I do? You really want to spend over 200 days a year away from your family? You really want to, you want to be concerned about this? You want to be able to manage this? You want to be able to handle praise and reprimand? You want to do all those things? And then people go, whoa.
So I guess that the best way to talk about this is to talk about what we actually do, as opposed to what other people don't do, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about us, right?
Yeah.
And I think partly what happens is that people think that we're in the positive thinking movement, the
Yeah.
positive thinking, and our role is to assist people with their lives, because we're trying to help them be more positive and have a better outlook on their lives, right? And truthfully, that's kind of like the last thing that we do. It's like totally against
Yeah.
really what it is that we teach.
Well, it's totally against natural law. If you have a look at your hands right now, you've 2 index fingers, you've 2 thumbs, you've 2 legs, you've 2 eyes, you've 2 ears. Everything in our life happens in duality.
You have one mouth.
But you've also got a bottom. So everything in life happens in duality. All life happens in duality.
Yeah, so you can't have things one-sidedly.
No. So the minute I hear people promoting lopsided perception, I know that they're just perpetuating the opposite side.
Yes, 100%.
So Norman Vincent Peale, he was the head of the positive thinking movement in the late 80s, early 90s, and he stood up on stage in front of 80,000 people and said, this positive thinking thing doesn't work. I've lost my car, my house, my wife, my kids, my business. I've lost all my money, because you cannot, we live a dualistic reality. You cannot impose a singularity onto a humanity that commands duality. So I think that's part of the gripe that I see occurs for people with that, because if you're doing that, it gives the industry a bad name. Does that make sense?
Because nobody can ever live up to the expectation of it all being one way, because we're human beings and we can't just have it all one way.
Yeah.
So the more you're trying to think plus, the minus is there just in the background balancing it out. I heard it somewhere that the positive thinking is just covering up a whole heap of negative thinking. And the truth about it is, as soon as you get pressured, you go back into that negative way of being. So what we teach is all about balance, that there are times where you have to look at the plus thing to balance you out, because you're 2 minus. There are times where you've got to look at the minus to balance out the plus. But if you're trying to be if you're trying to be one way all of the time, it's impossible. So people have this unrealistic expectation that in their relationship that they're going to be just plus. At work, it's just going to be plus. With their money, it's just going to be plus. And we fall down because as people, because we can't live up to this expectation of plus.
Yeah, and I think in terms of coaches, you shouldn't be going to the market until you've done your work. You have to earn the right to do that. And people, life's a vibration cab. People feel you. They feel when you're authentic. They feel when you've done your stuff. They feel when you've done your work. And, if you look at any of the great speakers out there, like you're talking the cutting edge, the ones that make it are the ones that don't promote lopsidedness.
Totally.
The ones that make it are the ones that promote homeostasis. So all life is homeostatic. All life is balance. Everything. Nothing happens here in halves, and you cannot impose a singularity onto a humanity that commands duality. I'll say that again. You cannot impose a singularity onto a humanity that commands duality.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. We see it. We smell with the media. We know what they're doing. We know that they manipulate, they hijack our consciousness by promoting lopsidedness. Damnation, war, blah blah blah. We're over it. The masses are over it. They're just over it. If you want to be an excellent coach, study homeostasis, understand that all life is balance, help people to deal with both sides.
And I think that also the definition for me of someone who is truly out there to help is someone who's always going to make you look inside rather than try and find it outside of yourself, right? And trying to find the balance inside of you, because it doesn't matter what's happened for you in your life, right? Whenever you've experienced the minus, at exactly the same time, the plus has happened.
Every single time.
And I know that can be really, really confronting for people. It was confronting for me, even though my background wasn't one of a massive amount of, trauma or anything like that. But I couldn't compute how at this time this was happening. But it's only when you're forced to look inside that you realize that no matter what has happened over here that you perceive as negative, to the same degree it's the other side. And when you can see that, it actually balances out. When it balances out, you get a whole new view of how you view your world.
I think that people try to build their lives in halves. Does that make sense?
Totally.
They just want to have half a life.
Yeah.
I don't want to hang out with people that are half.
Yeah.
I want the wholesomeness of a human being. I want the wholesomeness of a relationship. If it's like, I remember DeMartini saying to me once, Mitch, I gave up trying to be happy because it was making me feel too sad. I thought, that's just gold. That is just gold. I use it all the time. It's such a great line. But I think that that it's same with anything. If you're trying to have a peaceful life, it's because you've got a shitload of war going on.
There's so much war going on inside of you that you're trying to impose peace outside of you, so you don't have to look at the war that's going on inside of you.
I know that we talk to people all the time about this stuff, but the gateway is what you perceived that was negative that happened to you.
Totally.
Because I promise you, in those moments, you had to summon courage, tenacity, in actual fact, all of your depth and all of the qualities that are required in order for you to master your life lie in the perceived negative, or lie there. The only reason you're calling it negative and the only reason you get pissed off is because you know better. Does that make sense? People know better. They know better than to run from it. They know better than to not look. They know better than to not harness who they are out of that. Your objective in your life is to get grateful for the whole of it, not the half of it.
Yeah.
And, there's a law, I'm always talking about laws, but there's a law that governs humanity. It's called the law of limitations. And it states, to those people that have certainty in their lives about what has occurred, and they're present to what occurred, and they have love out of what occurred, more is given.
Totally.
So to those people that have certainty, presence and love in their lives, more is given. To those people that don't, more is taken away. So the law of limitations basically states, until you learn to handle what you've got,
you'll never get any more.
You'll never have any more within your life. You've got to learn to handle what you've got.
So this is the thing, right? One of the things that we do with people is we balance out their perceptions, right? And a big thing, we've talked about it in one of the other podcasts, that people want more of is money, right?
Yeah.
But the reason that they want more money is they perceive that money, having more money is going to equal plus.
Yeah.
They don't realise that having more money also equals negative to the same degree. So why, and this is the law of limitations, why would it give you any more if you're only going to be able to handle one side of it? A promotion in life is just a new level of emotion. It's just a new,
it's a new level of stability in emotion, right?
Yeah, so it means that when you can balance out your emotions in this area, then you'll be given more. And balancing out your emotions means that you've got to be able to understand that the plus and the minus come hand in hand.
Yeah.
You can't push one away and expect the other not to come with it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's important to understand you can't have the pain of a loss in your life without the pleasure of it.
Yeah.
But the people only see the pain. They don't get, okay, well, when this occurred for you, how did it enable you? How did it empower you? What did it teach you? What did it show you? When they left, who came close? When they rejected, who accepted? And when you stop and count your blessings like that, because, if you want any more within your life, you've got to handle what you've got.
Yeah.
And handling what you got is that when you stop and count your blessings like that, you realize that life is specifically designed in order to give you more. But when you try to get rich only collecting coins that have one side, you can't get rich. You cannot create a life in halves. You have to embrace the whole lot, to the point where if somebody says to you, okay, if I could give you a magic wand, we could go back there and undo it, would you? No way. I'd gladly relive it because I realize who I am as a result of it.
Yeah.
So great coaches, and there are many of them out there, do not get caught in the delusion of distortion. They don't get caught in the
Totally.
delusion of promoting a singularity of
One
happiness,
side.
joy. Because you
You can
it's
smell that.
phony. Like I remember when I first got into this industry. So I used to hang out with some pretty kooky people, you know. So we'd go to all these meditations.
Back in the day as well,
back
was
in the
all
day.
this whole spiritual
Oh, man.
cuckoo. Woo-hoo.
You know, feather healing and rock healing, and you know, everybody was wearing purple, and purple was the in thing. And you know, if you hadn't,
Wearing
if you,
purple
I
shades,
think,
good.
are you?
No, I'm not. I'm just
Good.
checking.
You can never wear purple around me. But I remember, you know, if there would be, if you hadn't read Conversations with God,
Then who were you?
then you weren't spiritual.
Yeah.
Right. So they would leave you. No,
Yeah.
you have to read. This
Yeah.
is the indoctrination into our spiritual group. And I remember I would be hanging out with these people, and you would go to some of these events, you know, and you'd meet these people, and they'd be like, "Hello, you know, I'm just with spirit, and I just want to be with spirit," and you'd be like, "Right," but you could just smell a rat. You just knew that this is not and you knew if I looked in your bank account right now, you'd be broke. You know, if I looked at how your relationships were, they're a disaster. And over time, you would learn that these people were compensating. Does that make sense? They
Yeah.
were compensating. And and it's just what was happening at the time. And I understand that. But, you know, we have to we have to understand that, you know, this is 2017 right now, right? And, you know, you got to meet your people where they're at. You know, we have this within our industry, we have this growth now at the moment where people are asking bigger questions, and you got to meet your people where they're at. You can't promote this delusion. You got to say, okay, what is your challenge?
Yeah.
What you created that challenge. No one else creates your reality. You create your reality from the inside out. No one is doing that to you. First off, take responsibility. If you want a better reality, you got to first off get that you created the one you're in, and you just got to do a better job. And don't ever let anybody promote to you the illusion that you're going to have more success in your life and it's only going to give you pleasure. No way. And it's only going to give you peace. No way. That's not sustainable. That sort of pleasure, that sort of peace, that is just delusionment.
Yeah.
Nothing happens in halves. And a delusion is an affirmation without any commitment. It's an affirmation without having done any of the work. And lots of people are delusional, and lots of people promote the delusion of plus, plus, plus. Let me tell you, as I've grown in my life, it's been pleasure and pain and happy and sad and good and bad and right and wrong.
And it continues to be. And
Totally.
every single time you're feeling that little bit, and this is one of the things that we do amongst ourselves. Every time you're feeling a little bit plus, 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 we make sure that we balance ourselves out
yeah.
to get to a point of gratitude. Because
yeah.
if we don't balance ourselves out, something outside of us is going to do that. So if we're feeling, you know, we've come out of a seminar and we're feeling too cocky and righteous and thinking, oh my God, and it feels like we've helped everyone, we will balance ourselves out by saying, okay, where could we have done a better job? Where did we not do as well? So that we bring ourselves back into balance ourselves. If we're feeling down and out like we had not helped anyone, we then do the same thing. Okay, who did we help? Where did we do right? And we balance ourselves out at that level, because we know that if we don't do that, something outside of us is going to come knock us down pretty quickly.
Mate, I'm a big believer that if you're going to fuck up in life and kick the crap out of yourself, you got to be fair about it.
You got to do it both ways.
Yeah, you got to go. If you're going to beat yourself down, well, then be fair about it and beat yourself up at the same time. So, okay, I fucked up, but where did I do a good job? Who did I connect with? Who did I get to hang out with? Who did I get to meet? You know, what did it teach me? Stop and take yourself back, because otherwise you'll sustain it. You know, and if you're sabotaging your life and feeling down over it and screwing stuff up, you can actually become addicted to fucking it up.
Totally.
Because you get attention and listened to and heard, and you get to label it something. So the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of addictions you're running. So it's really important in your life to understand that if you're making a mess, then be fair about it. I mean, I used to come out of seminars, Mills, right, years ago, when we were first running programs, yeah? And I'd come out of the seminar, I'd be like, whoa! And I'd get into my car and I'd put my convertible roof down and I'd drive home, you know, and I'd be just blowing smoke so far up my ass, and I'd be like, yay! And then I'd get in the door and I'd be like, oh my God, my wife would meet me at the door, my girlfriend at the time, I'd be like, hey guys, oh my God, I just blew their mind. She'd be like, really? I'm like, oh my God, you should have seen it. People just loved it. They were just like, wow, you've just completely changed my life. It was absolutely fantastic, Connie. You should have seen it. You should have been there. And she'd go, that's really, really good. But do you remember what you said about my mum last night? She overheard it. Do you know you left your underwear on the floor this morning when you went out for work? I tripped up over them on the way out the door. You know, you never paid the gas bill last week, so the gas has been cut off, and I got 3 kids. So what I started to notice is that as I would beat myself up, I would always attract humbling circumstances. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you have somebody promoting to you that there's a life that you can live where there's more pleasure than pain, more happy than sad, more good than bad, more right than wrong, you are creating a life of pain, sad, wrong
100%.
at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
So coaches are moving into that realm now. I mean, we're starting to, I mean, quantum physics, the study of quantum physics, there's so much accessible information out there now that just proves the point that we're talking about.
Yeah,
that which is
totally.
all life is homeostatic.
Yeah.
Your objective is to get your people to understand that they have everything they require inside of them to be able to manage anything that is going on in their life. Don't promote the illusion of lopsidedness, because you completely create the opposite side for the purpose of humbling you.
Yeah.
And if you don't find or locate the challenge in your life, it locates you, and it's always in a way that you don't want. It's always in a way that is not congruent, because life doesn't determine, it just does whatever it needs to do to get you back into a state of homeostasis,
Yep.
because all life is homeostatic. So one of the cool things that that you were talking about that we would do is that we would embrace the challenge. If we were out there going, oh my God, we just blew everybody's mind, the first thing we'd say is, where could we have done a better job? How could we be more organised? How could we be more focused? Who do we need to give more attention to? After we leave here, who have we got to get on the phones and make sure that they're keeping up with their work? Our objective all the time is to, if we're elated, is to bring ourselves not into a depressed state, but into a state of balance where our heart's open and we become congruent with the message.
And I think that one of the things that people hear when they hear that is they're going, well, can't you just enjoy the happy moments then? Like,
Yeah.
does it mean that I can't just be happy in the time? But the truth about it is there's a difference between true happiness or true humbleness as opposed to that cocky, elated, self-righteous state.
Yeah, and the thing is that because people have spent so much time oscillating and TikToking in their lives between elation and depression, that's what I argue that point.
Yeah.
When you fully understand equilibration point, when you fully understand that point of homeostasis, that moment of
I get it.
where there's no pleasure and pain, no happy, no sad,
Yeah.
no good, no bad, where you're in that state of absolute certainty, presence and love, that state of gratitude, when you're in that moment, you would never want to negotiate the understanding of that moment and that sense within your heart of congruency between your heart and your mind for any state of elation.
Yeah.
You'd never negotiate it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in that moment, you are the creator.
Yeah.
When you're in that moment, you are the master. The genius is awake in that moment.
Yeah. And that elation point is just as destructive in quotation marks as the depression point, because they're still opposite ends of the scale and they're not at that balance point.
Absolutely. Elation and depression are hand in hand with one
That
another.
exactly the same
They're
thing.
two birds flying in exactly the same
Yeah,
direction.
two wings of the same bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two birds flying in exactly the same
Two wings of the same bird was good. I think I'm going to stick with that one.
Yours was good. Mine didn't work.
Okay. I think we're done. I think that's the end of our
Yeah,
discussion.
I hope you got the message. And please
I hope it
understand-
was all plus for you
I
today.
hope it was all joy and,
And
happiness
happy and
yes
and beauty
and yes
and flowers.
and lovely and roses and lollipops and rainbows. It was
And
lovely.
sunshine.
And sunshine.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
See you till next time.